Good morning.
Good morning.
Cheers.
Oh, I like that, Debbie. I like that one. I got my big
You
tall
gotta have
one.
you have to have the big one.
You got a big
And
tall one too.
well, and it's insulated, so I don't have to reheat it.
My, sometimes we need that insulation.
Yes.
Kind of like having God as an insulation for us.
God goes before us. And thank God
Hadn't
for
thought about
that.
hadn't thought about that before. That he could be our insulation. So
We have a lot of ground to cover this morning, and I'm excited.
we do have a lot of ground to cover. And yesterday, the worship service was fantastic.
I
So many,
loved it.
so many elements and so many people participating, and it
The
was fun to.
flow was perfect. It felt very smooth and it worked well. One thing flowed right into the other without any big gaps. And I felt really peaceful after coming out of that.
Yeah, there. I was standing outside the sanctuary, gathering up the registrations or the reservations, I should say, for the now dinner for 60, not dinner for six anymore. It's dinner for 60. Um, and we have 40 people signed up, and were quite a few that weren't there that I need to reach out to. So we
We
could
have
get
people,
60.
yeah, it's a matter of mailing cut things out to people that we don't necessarily see very often. And so that they still feel part of our community. Feeling
Yes.
part of a community is really important for all of us.
Like some that may be watching right now that
That's right.
haven't been able to get to church, and but you are still part of our community, and we welcome you and
We
invite
miss
you,
you.
and we miss you.
There's a gap where you are with normally, and we would love to see you and hear from you. If you can't be in person, be sure and let us hear from you.
Yes. So we have a focus today on helping others, praying or prayer, and doing good, which I guess doing good and helping others is pretty much the same thing, but prayer and
Ah,
adoration of God, yes.
sometimes the doing good is done in anonymity, and I think that it doesn't necessarily involve other people, but it might be for other people without their knowledge. And I think that's an important thing that we need to remember. Even if you aren't recognized, although recognition is important, it doesn't always have to happen for you to feel good about doing good because
Just
you know and God knows.
just seeing somebody smile from something that was unexpected, something that was good that happened for them.
Like the white elephant gifts we gave yesterday. I think that that was so important because I walked up to somebody that didn't obviously hadn't been, notified, had, not on our list of people, maybe doesn't have the internet. And she said, "Oh, no, no, I didn't bring anything." I said, "That's not the point."
That's not the point.
Not the point. And I left it. And so I hope she's blessed by it because it was, it's not about whether you brought something, but receiving something is a gift that you give to the giver. So being a receiver, you got to have a receiver or else the giver has nowhere to go. So it's important to have both and
Yeah.
be a gracious receiver.
Well, and I watched someone that got a gift, and it just really warmed my heart. The wrapping paper was taken off carefully, and then when she saw what she had, it was the smile that came across her face was just amazing. And she held it
Well,
close and
well, there was the Lydia one got a box of crayons, and she was excited to get a box of crayons. And I've lost some of those things. I love to color, and there are adult color books, and coloring is a form of creativity, and it's soothing
It is.
to do. It's one of those things you do for yourself. It's like a spa treatment sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
had a cousin, a male cousin, and he had, gosh, I don't know what he had. He had dementia partly, but that wasn't why they wanted him to color. And oh my word, he would color very intricate pages that just all of a sudden, and it was like, I would think that would have taken a day or two because there were so many little teeny. No, he just whipped, and they were beautiful, perfect. Like we could frame those.
I have a friend who did those, and she would, because she had limited mobility, so she wasn't able to get around. And she would color because she was just, it was hard for her to maintain a positive attitude. And that was one thing that she could still do that gave her a feeling of contribution. So she would provide colored pictures for like women's retreats and things like that, or
Oh, cool.
the Christmas tea or something that we were doing. And she would provide those, and we would build a program, or she would color pages that were appropriate to our program. And then we'd have those to look at and focus on as we went through our program. But it makes you feel like you're contributing and have something to offer.
Absolutely, and that's so important for everyone to have a feeling that they do have something to offer. You may not see it. You may not think about it because of so many things that are piled up on your plate, or that health reasons or whatever, but we all have something to
Well,
share.
it's like the ways of service that we need stewards, we need apostles, we need all those people to make the tree the full picture, the family of God, where we have all the tree limbs figured out. And then there's going to be a few branches that aren't fully leafed out, but then we have new people show up and they fill the void because
They do,
God sends us what we need.
to make the tree full and beautiful.
Yes.
And we have quite a few new faces that
That's a
are
blessing.
with us, and those beautiful faces bring beautiful new personalities to us,
And gifts
and gifts,
that we
like,
have to explore and
and gifts
let
that
them,
they may not know they have those gifts.
well, or they have a gift, but they haven't been welcomed into a circle of that making. And I'm thinking about people that have a gift. They play the guitar, they play the flute, they play the clarinet, they play whatever. And we have to find a way for them to bring their gift to us because we will be blessed and they will too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Debbie, you sent me a message from Desmond Tutu, um, and I'm going to let you share that. But I pulled up a little bit of history on him because I had used one of his quotes from before. Desmond Tutu is from South Africa. He's a bishop and a theologian. He was known for his work as an anti-apartheid and human rights activist. And as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, that's where I remember the name. He was Bishop of Johannesburg from 1985 to 1986, and then Archbishop of Cape Town from 86 to 96. And in both of those cases, he was the first Black African to hold the position. And we have so much to learn from him.
I'm constantly amazed by people who have been in desperate situations, overwhelming hate, overwhelming resistance, overwhelming just rejected. And they still rise because they have God on their shoulder and within them. And his quote is, do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. And that's that's a big statement from a man who was very nearly run over.
Yeah.
As far
Yes.
as trying to be silenced.
And I,
Reminds me.
I, I love that those little bits put together that overwhelm the world. It's
It's
those little
similar. It's a
little
little.
bits of kindness. Yeah.
It's similar to the Charles Wesley.
Yes, it is.
Do all the good where you are with whatever you have and whatever circumstances you're in. So that kind of resonates with me. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Me
Is
too. Me too. So then, when I was looking for Desmond Tutu, I also looked up because we had another quote from Richard Rohr, and I thought, Rohr, we have Rohrs in our church. We have had for many, many years. And I was like, okay, who is this guy? Well, I didn't know. So, I looked him up on the internet. He is a Franciscan friar and ecumenical teacher. Father Richard Rohr bears witness to the deep wisdom of Christian mysticism and traditions of action and contemplation. Exactly what we've just been talking about. He was a founder of the Center for Action and Contemplation. Father Richard teaches how God's grace guides us to our birthright as beings made of divine love. And he said, we worshiped Jesus. We worshiped Jesus. And I thought, well, what's wrong with that statement? Instead of following him on his same path, we made Jesus into a mere religion instead of a journey toward union with God and everything else. Then this shift made us into a religion of belonging and believing.
Which is nothing wrong with that to some degree.
Nothing wrong with that. Instead of being a religion of transformation. So when you look at the first half of the sentence, it's like, yeah, okay, well, this is good. We worshiped Jesus. Well, yes, but there's a second part of that. We need to follow him on his path, the path that he showed us.
The first half of the sentence is our comfort zone because we don't feel like we have to do any more than that. And it's easy to accomplish. We're not being challenged to grow, to bloom, to change the world and make disciples for Christ by the way we live. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of Christians, when they read this, they think, well, okay, yeah, they get it, but they're uncomfortable because they're being asked for more. And sometimes the more is hard. It's the thing that you have to step out on faith and do rather than sit in your pew or sit at home in your easy chair or whatever it is. You have to get out and get up and off of that in order to do it. Now, that's a figurative speech. If you're confined to a chair, you can still roll the chair into a form of action. So, I mean, you can't let physical disabilities restrain you from doing any of it. You can do what you can do and still
Absolutely, we
grow.
can. I like what you said about getting out of our comfort zone, because when Pastor Lydia invited us to do this podcast, I was like, I don't think that's my cup of coffee. I know, my cup of tea. And it's amazing how many viewers we have, and it's a feel good. That's like the second part of the action to be able to share, and it certainly has enriched my life by digging in the internet and being able to share some of my life story and the story of the life of the church.
Well, and the thing is, the internet isn't all bad, and it's a way of connecting with people who can't find a ride to church, find a ride to a community meeting or a ladies group meeting. It's a way for us to still be a community with and being at home and not having to leave your home. But by then, we're still asking you to leave your house or to step out into something that coloring pictures is your gift. If you can still color, if you do needlework, if you do crafts, it doesn't have to be, a podcast. One of my gifts is talking, as you may understand. So, this is a total comfort zone for me, but I had never, the thought of doing a podcast had never entered my mind. So it was like,
Right.
okay. And then when I knew you were involved, I thought, well, no, I can do this. I'll just do it. I had that same experience when I worked at a food pantry at my last church. They put me on the front desk to greet the patrons and to take their food requests because we gave them staples, a box of staples, and then they had some choices with other things. And so they would fill out their request and they would turn it in. And then when the food was rolled out, we would call their name and everything. But talking to people and listening to their stories is so important. And I didn't realize how important that was and how you have to alter yourself and grow a little bit within yourself to meet people with sincerity and love. And that's all any of us really want is sincerity and love and inclusion.
And that is so true. And, I, having been a caregiver for so many years, it really taught me the meaning of just being there. And I think I think my clients were as much of a caregiver to me as I was to them. It was a wonderful experience. And yes, I think I shared I fought God for several years, quite a few years, saying no, I can't do this. I need full-time work. I need benefits. I need. And then he was like, I am what you need.
Right.
Now I get it.
Instead of I, it's we, and it's not necessarily it's inclusive included to the person in front of you.
Yes.
And that was what was so real about working at the food pantry as the greeter and the order taker, because they brought their stories because some of them didn't have anyone to talk to. So, I was the face, and some of them didn't want to be there. So you had to respect their dignity. And,
right.
It's so hard for people to ask for a hand up. It's very hard. The dignity can sometimes get in the way. Pride, which is no good. It's not necessarily a good thing. And it's hard.
It is. It's very hard.
And then we were doing it during COVID and wearing masks.
Oh, yes.
And so, all they can see is your eyes. And so you have to relate to them with half a face.
Yeah. Yeah. This seems to be the day for quotes from Facebook. But well, before I share this, let me just tell you, during the journey class, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have a lesson, and somebody said, well, I've got an idea. Everybody pull out your cell phone, go to your Facebook page. And I'm thinking, okay, where are we going with this? And the challenge was to find the recent posts that were inspirational, spiritual, religious, in that realm.
Uplifting.
uplifting, and it was amazing. We ran out of time, but we were like, well, we're not done. We still, I've got this. I want to share this. You need to hear this. And so for our viewers, I challenge you to do that. Go through your news feed on Facebook and just
Well,
pull up all of those posts.
well, and the thing about that is, right now it's January. It's after Christmas. It's a little grim and dreary outside, and so people are looking for hope and uplifting.
Yes.
So the Facebook is providing a lot of that. People are posting things to uplift themselves and others, and I find that encouraging.
Yes. So I don't know if you know or if you knew, there's a prayer called the I don't know prayer. It's very spiritual. They suggest that you just go off someplace where it's quiet and peaceful, and that you're alone. And then it says, just walk right up to the heart of God and say, I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to process this. I don't know what to do with these emotions. I don't know how to handle this situation. And then what do we do? We all have so many I don't knows. So then the suggestion is you just leave it there. You leave it with God. And whatever little grain of sand of hope that you have and faith, you leave it with God. God certainly hears those kinds of prayers. That's
He knows it before you say it,
he
but
knows
the
it.
act of saying it and the act of leaving it can definitely lighten your burden, whatever it might be. Health issues, financial issues, whatever is on your heart, he knows. Family issues. There's so many kinds of burdens that we carry around in our sack. We need to take the rocks out and leave them at his feet.
We do. And through prayer we can do that. Sometimes he answers immediately. Sometimes it takes a long time because he needs to know that we understand that we what the situation is or what we need. He already knows that, just like you said, Debbie. But we
Well,
need to know that.
and the thing about it is sometimes in group prayer, it's hard to share your innermost thoughts, your innermost burdens. And it's hard to do that, totally open yourself and lay yourself bare in front of people is huge. You can't, it's almost impossible. So the private I don't know prayer, the private meditative prayer, I had people that I knew previously that had prayer closets where they had set up a closet that was big enough where they could go in and just kind of close the door and leave everything outside and pray and totally focus with quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not afraid to lay yourself bare in that kind of a situation.
And Jesus said that prayer should be a private time between God and the worshiper. But there's also so many different kinds of prayer, and corporate prayer is another very important part of who we are. It should be corporate prayer should be used to build up the church, to build up others.
It's
And
not about individual in the corporate prayer. It's about the we. What can we do? Which is where you have to kind of make a commitment. Like with the pledge cards, we're praying for the finances of the church. We're praying for the ability to continue our missions. We're praying for each other in difficult situations. But the one-on-one prayer, that's where our burdens are truly lifted. And
Yes.
we can seek him face to face and say, I don't know. I mean,
don't know.
I mean, I've driven down the road and prayed, I don't know. You know, tears streaming down your face, and it's the only one of those places where you can be alone a lot in your car driving down the road. But
Right.
crying while you're driving is a little challenging, but
Yes, it is.
but it
Yes.
is. I've had totally intense spiritual experiences on the road, just me and God, and it's been very. I've been lifted up. He's reached me in those moments, and it's not out of the realm. It's powerful for those who are on the road, like Pastor Ross yesterday, driving down to Nod Noster and then coming back in time for the concert. I'm
Yes.
sure he was praying. I just know he's got that. He's got that awareness and ability to know what he needs to do in the moment, and I'm so grateful for him.
Yes, we all are. And one thing that we should remember, Debbie, what you were saying about driving down the road and being inspired, or crying and being inspired, or being inspired and then crying. we need to be watching. What are we seeing out the window? We're seeing a lot of cars zipping back and forth, but oh my goodness, there's hundreds and thousands of God's gifts that are there. Just look out your window. Yeah, it's kind of dreary out there, but there's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot of beauty that's around us. And you know, I'm from Western Kansas. You all know that. I love Kansas. And everybody says, oh, it's so boring to drive across that state. It's so flat and there's nothing to see.
There's lots to see.
And I'm thinking, open up your eyes, because I see God's beauty every direction that I'm looking. And it's peaceful.
And in your prayer closet, you can always put up beautiful pictures or something that's inspirational for you and brings you close to God. It's kind of like the icons that we talked about yesterday in worship.
Yes.
Those are art that's created by someone with a gift for art as a gift to inspire. Those kinds of things are meant to inspire us and encourage us. God paints a beautiful picture every morning out your window.
Yes, he does.
And there's nothing to say that you can't use those icons in your life, things that inspire you, a scene or a picture that is meaningful to you.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It might not be the picture of a saint or an icon, but those pictures of inspiration they're everywhere.
Well, it's like a picture in current modern day Santa Claus, for instance. How many pictures did we see of Santa Claus over the holiday on wrapping paper, in Christmas cards, and in stores everywhere? That's an icon for children. It's a jolly old man who does good.
Yes.
It inspires people to good.
And one of my favorite pictures of Santa Claus is with him kneeling at the cradle of baby Jesus. That's just, to me, that's just priceless.
A little old man that hops in a sleigh and travels the world has got to be inspired by God and took that on faith. I mean, a lot of that. I mean, it's meant to uplift people. It's not meant to fool people or trick people.
And he's led by a red-nosed reindeer.
Yes. I mean, and he was ridiculed for his red nose up until that they needed him.
Yes, he was.
He was having to put a mud on it and hide it so he could fit in with everyone else. And I think, we don't always need to fit in with everybody else. You can let them fit in with you.
Oh, that is very, very, very true. I had one other thing that I was going to share, and we're out of time. I will save it and share it next week. So it's been fun being with you this morning, and we wish you a very safe week with the snow that's coming in. So be careful out there and take care of yourself. And we will see you back next week.
Bye.
Bye.